all my years, I pushed for Shang-Chi. I mean, I pushed for Shang-Chi so hard it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny. Because I love Bruce Lee so much. Like Bruce Lee is like really one of my idols, inspirations. I don't go a day without, reading a quote, seeing an image of Bruce Lee.
Hmm.
And and I really, really wanted Shang-Chi bad, and for whatever reason, whatever excuse, there was always something as to why the character couldn't be done, or why the character had to be pushed, or why it wouldn't work in a wave, and it just always bothered me. It just bothered me. Like, why the excuse?
Yeah.
The excuse. Why can't we just do it? If we can do a fucking apocalypse, an apocalypse by name, we can do a Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I hope that we can push more characters like that, because it matters to not just a kid like me who always idolized, imagery like that, but it also helps that little kid who looks like Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Like, it matters, you know what I mean? And even if it's just as much as having that kid use his imagination more so than ever before.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I hope that, with everything that's going on socially right now in the world that we can't avoid, I hope that eventually, like, retail, wakes up, and manufacturers wake up and apply, different characters and different ethnicities and different story elements, and, to, product where it's a more broader, grander representation of the world.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, even with with Shang-Chi coming out in recent this year with Marvel, I mean that thing sold like gangbusters. That was the one
Yeah,
everybody wanted out
yeah.
of that line because
I mean,
there's only been one other Shang-Chi, I believe, with the
right,
old Toybiz. Yeah.
right, and we one for Superhero Squad, you
Yeah.
know. But if you take away all the other stuff, all the other stuff that is supposed to matter to everyone else, Shang-Chi is a cool character.
Hmm.
He's a cool character. He's a cool character like Bugs Bunny. He's a cool character like Mickey Mouse. He's a cool character. It's a cool image. What's the threat? What's the
Yeah.
threat? You know what I mean? So I'm glad that we're having conversations where we can eventually begin to move past that, where retail can actually stand behind, or maybe even make certain, you know, demands, like, hey, push these companies, like, where is the next full Shang-Chi wave? You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, give me, something, give me more New Mutants, give me more international characters, like, give me more, because this is a representation of our consumer base, not just one segment of our consumer base,
Hmm.
because everyone buys product. You know what I mean? And
I,
and
I think it goes with what we were talking about, like full transparency. At this point, it's like there doesn't need to be these limitations anymore.
mhm.
And to say that African American characters don't sell, or we can't do Shang-Chi, or even like female. For me, growing up, knowing the female characters,
Yeah.
oh, Spider Woman's coming out, and then that would be the short packed, or like she'd be the heart. Always the female figures
Oh, bro.
was the ones. You know what I mean?
Oh man. That used to burn me up. Like, boys don't want to play with female figures. I'm like, really? Like, my fondest memories playing with my Jamie Summers doll,
Yeah.
and or taking my cousin's Barbies and playing with them with my $6 million man doll, and not in a way where it was perverted. It was like, these are people. These are people with
Yeah.
the story that I'm creating. So
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, bro, I've heard, like, little boys don't want female toys. I've heard, um, working on Thor, that boys don't want, um, characters that are wearing skirts. I mean, I've heard it all. I mean, I've heard it all from the subliminal. I mean, from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've heard it all, and I'm like, I had never had those thoughts as a kid. Never had those thoughts as a kid. And it's amazing how one's own personal feelings and ideology comes into play when it comes to the toy product, man, and what we have
Yeah.
had so far. And a lot of the times it's straight up disgusting. Like you never even gave the opportunity a chance. So now I think that with what's going on now, we can start having, more diverse characters. Like for instance, like I was a big Transformers fan, right?
Hmm.
And I always dug Wheeljack. I love Wheeljack. Now, Wheeljack was clearly, voiced by Scatman Crothers, but it wasn't necessarily that I considered Wheeljack to be black. I just considered Wheeljack to be like this character that expressed himself in a way totally different than anyone else, just like Soundwave did.
Yeah.
So, to me, Wheeljack and Soundwave was cool as hell because it was just a different dimension, and that was just with sound. So
Yeah.
imagine how of a different thought that has with the kid when they see it, when they actually see the visual. So I mean, those things have an impact on us, and there are people who understand that and know that, and purposely kept minorities and different groups away from those visuals. So and I just hope that now we can kind of break that wall down. Actually say, this is ridiculous. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous. Why are we still holding on to these old philosophies?
Exactly. Yeah. It's to the point where it's embarrassing that we're not over. Like we need to get at it now and really
Yeah.
hit it, hammer it, because we shouldn't be in the way we've developed with technology and just the world itself. We need to put this to rest. Like we
Yeah.
need move on. We're not moving on as culture and society. We're kind of circling, and it needs to end. Things and politically needs to end. So
Right.
it needs a drastic change. One that's not going to be an immediate thing, of course, but it needs the start now,
Right.
and then we can't only go forward, not backwards. So,
Right.
yeah.
Like it's funny, like however you feel about this current president and how you feel about Obama, the last president,
Hmm.
the thing that struck me about Obama was the simple fact that he read comic books as a kid,
Hmm.
and that opens you up to society in ways that that was like the comics were like our first internet. You know what I mean? It was it was the first time people got to see New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the first time people would actually go to New York without going to New York, and I think that with that, comic books ushered in kind of like a more worldly view of humanity.
Hmm.
And Obama kind of picked up on that, and he was a comic book fan. And I think that made him a little bit more tolerable, more tolerant of, or at least say, you may be different. We may have different opinions, but let's listen to each other so we can get to a common ground.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe that comic books didn't have some form of impact on his system of beliefs that got him to that place.
Yeah. Even like in the sense of like good and evil.
Okay.
I look at that in terms of what, just say, comics have taught, or cartoons, or what I mean. There was always, growing up, you try your best to be good. You don't want to be the bad guy,
Right.
and
Right.
it's stuck with me, honestly. It's
Yep.
you have that mentality. I don't think a lot of cartoons, a lot of things these days, they try to blur that line, like, oh, well, villains can be redemption, and it's like, not always.
Yep. I
There
mean,
is
like,
truly like no coming back in things that you do. So
yeah, like Thor is my favorite character. I learned so much moral stuff from Thor. Like,
yeah,
it's funny. It's funny, man. And I'll be honest, man. It's like, I didn't know how to pray to God when I was a kid. I didn't understand that whole concept. And especially like going to a black church, you will see people in all various stages of emotion
Mm-hmm.
praying to God. I learned how to actually talk to God by reading Thor with his conversations with his own father.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that made me have that one-on-one connection. If like reading that, how Thor, because a lot of the stuff like when Thor would be in distress or anything like that, it's almost like as if he's praying for power from his father, for
Mm-hmm.
motivation to move on, to get him out of that situation, to whatever. But when you reread those old Thors, when you get past all the Shakespearean stuff and all that stuff, it's like he in a constant, it's like some monk stuff. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
constantly, seeking higher power, like high, like approval from a higher power. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that always resonated with me. And I think that and that got me to have more open conversations with my own father, with my
Mm-hmm.
own dad, and that came through reading Thor. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
one reason why Thor, Silver Surfer, and Submariner are my favorite characters because they all have father issues. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
each one of those guys, like they're especially Submariner, he's triggered. Like his emotions are triggered by the absence of his father. Like he never had that guidance. Silver Surfer is always trying to appeal to Galactus, save his people, but go on these journeys on behalf of his father. So me growing up with my father not being in the home, that always resonated with me. Always resonated with me. So that's the power of comic books, man. That's the power of toys.
Mm-hmm.
And there's strength in that. So I it bothers me to a degree when I read a lot of comic books and the heroes are fighting each other, like the in the movies the heroes are fighting each other, and it's like
Yeah.
that bothers me. Like kind of making the heroes dark, kind of messed things up.
Sorry about the
No,
sirens in the background.
that's all right. That's tax dollars at work.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. But yeah, it's I really just hope that we use the power of the imagination, especially in our generation, because now we're kind of being pushed to the forefront of being the new leaders.
Yeah.
Now that we have all these influences from different places where we learn some moral codes from, Star Wars, when we learn moral codes from comic books and stuff like that, now we can apply these into practice, like in
Mm-hmm.
a better world, to start laying the foundation for another world. Like now, the new Stanley is about to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
The new voices are about to emerge. It's like, and then that's another thing that I'm curious to see as, you know, us as creators, like the guys that worked at Toybiz, the guys that started toys and all that other stuff, like, where we are now, but where are we going to end up? Like, how much of an influence are we going to continue to be to push not only new product and ideas, but new philosophies, new practices, new ways of getting product, new ways of presenting, people into these ideas. What are we? Because it's our responsibility now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of these older people are starting to go away from their positions. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the guys from the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, they're starting to move out.
Yeah.
And there's a whole new generation that's coming in that's really been here. Now we're being thrust into the positions of utilizing our voices more. So I'm curious to see now that my peers are getting more into positions of influence, what is going to be the next wave? What's going to be the new? What's going to
Mm-hmm.
come out of that? Because we've been frustrated for a long time too. You
Yeah.
know, like we've been handcuffed too. We've gotten things out there subtly and all that other stuff, but now it's like, like for instance, like you mentioned Adam Van Wickler, like he has some cool stuff that's coming out. You know what I mean? That's going to change the way. I mean, it's like super cool, super unique. You know what I mean? It's like that's the new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
Let's build up some new brands to see what's coming out. Out of this this rubble, out of these
Yeah,
ashes.
I'm excited. Like his Mortal Ruin, and then you also have the when I saw those on display at was it last year's Designer Con, I was like, ooh,
Yep.
this is new, and
Yep.
you can see where, like with the Cursed Dead and things, like you can see where you can, if you have existing figures, you can put those, or if you
Yep.
got Mortal Ruin, you can put those. Even if you don't want to get the whole line, or you've never really collected Marvel Legends, it's different,
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
that that's what's most appealing.
Yep.
Um,
And
articulation, sculpt, all that aside,
all that
it
stuff.
looks
And you
cool. It
know
looks
what? You
cool.
know what? It reminded me of. It reminded me of Toybiz back in the day.
Hmm.
Because like Comic Con right now is all about the flash, the spectacle.
Yeah.
What's going to be the new hot reveal? What's going to be the Comic Con exclusive? How we're going to maximize the event with the days and roll stuff out, and it's a huge spectacle. But the way that Comic Con used to be, and the way that at DesignerCon, how Adam, had presented Mortal Ruin and the Cursed Dead, it made me feel like this is how Toy Biz used to be. You
Well,
know,
you're exactly right, because it was like the white or the tablecloth card table. You had Jesse
yup,
Falcon and Adam. Everybody sitting there,
yup,
and
sitting there.
you're exactly right. Yeah, it was just like a
Right,
couple
right. Like
figures. Yeah.
there's no script. I don't have to run around to do this panel. I'm right here. This is
Yeah.
all new on the table, raw. Here it is. Tell me what you think.
Hmm.
And that right there is like that's the foundation of Marvel Legends. You know what I mean? Like when Jesse first started creating Marvel Legends, even we didn't know what the hell he was doing. Like, why are we creating all this stuff? Like we really didn't know what was the end game.
Yeah.
And to the point that I can't remember who said it. It was someone in the studio. I can't remember if it was Damon Nee or another guy, Jason Matter or Junis. I can't remember who it was, but somebody just blurted out, "Are we just is Jesse just building up his own personal collection right now?" Like that's what it seemed like. And then
Yeah.
he's going like, "Wow, these are cool." Like we've never seen stuff like this. But what he was doing was he was building up his assault, right? He
Mhm.
he was he was plotting his strategy. He was getting everything together, getting all the paint masters together, all the sculpts together, and not present it as a one-off, but show it in its infancy entirety. Like
Yeah.
if you collect these, this is what you're going to get, and this is how you're going to get it, and this is how these things interact with each other, and this is the system of play, and this is the hook. We're going to have the comic books in each one, and these are pulled straight out of the pages, and we're going to do how we select who's going to be new and the various different looks and the various artists that we're doing. Like these were the conversations that we're having. This at the time it was totally, totally new. Nothing had ever been done like that before.
Hmm.
And it was sometimes we really didn't know where it was going. But that was kind of like, well, I think a lot of companies need to have that. Let's put it out there because we really don't know where it's going to go. But let's put it out there for the fans to see. Let's put
Hmm.
it out there for the fans to drive. And the fans to this day drive Legends like this. It is the little engine that could, you know what I mean, and it had, there's the known and there's a lot of unknown. There's stories that people know and there's stories that people don't know, and that line has lasted. I mean, it has pulled through, and that is entirely due to the fans,
Hmm.
so that's why it bothers me when the fans settle for the same old characters. You have the power. You
Yeah.
have all of the power. Use your voice. It's just like society. We have the power. Use our voice. Use it. If we use it the right way, direct our energy the right way, they're out there for us to be able to, the creators are out there for us to have a conversation with and discuss, and we can both find a common discovery, engage with them, use that, go
Yeah.
out the front lines. So I like what Hasbro Pulse was doing and all that stuff, and engaging with the fans, especially during quarantine. We saw what I hope is a master mode. I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Fingers like when Dwight pulled that leg out on that live stream. I don't know if you saw it, but
I love it. I love it. I was so happy. I'm like, yeah,
was
because
perfect.
that's what we do. That's what we did in the back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like, let's tease them. Let's show them. Let's show them the cool. Let's show them. Let's get a visceral reaction because we know this is going to be cool. And I love that, man, because it's making the fan feel as though that they're part of the ride. If I'm gonna go out here and trek all over town, especially out here, like I'm out here on the West Coast, and it's very different going to the stores out here, like finding a Walmart, finding a Target. It's not like it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And or for a lot of other places, some people live in very rural areas, so they got to travel miles between their stores. You know what I mean? So it's not easy getting this stuff. Give me a bone. Throw me something. You know I'm here. You got me. I'm interested. I'm passionate. Throw me the bone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you'll find loyalty. You'll find that, all right, now the fever pitch is up. Now I need to hunt on behalf of Hasbro or whoever it is. Now I'm fully equipped. I'm ready to roll because you gave me the pep talk. You gave me the energy. You let me in on a little bit of the strategy. You let me in. I feel like I'm a part of it. I feel like I'm down for the cause now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all want. Like when we go to the comic book store, we want to feel like we are a part of this community.
Yeah.
So I that's what I want companies to push more, to make us feel like we're a part of this.
Yeah. Not talking down, but talking to them on a you can tell in especially in myself working in marketing, there's a pitch. There's a certain way you talk to, like if you're going to try and sell someone on something, but it needs to be different than how you talk to people that are a fan of your product. You can't come at them as like you're coming off as fake, there's no tricking fans. There's people see right through it, and
right.
And they'll call you on it.
They'll call you on it, and especially there's tons of marketing ideas that can be done to really push toys and action figures. But as with anything, some methods are safe, safer than others. You know what I mean? But we floated like tons of ideas that would be cool, and unique for packaging ideas and accessories and stuff like that. And when I don't see those things happening, I'm like, man, there's a whole world out there that is waiting to be explored, But you just need the right catalyst, the right champion to push to get it through. So, and that's what I mean by I'm curious to. I look forward to see where my peers take our genre, and really start pushing things beyond the normal, beyond the normal comfort zone.
Yeah.
Take that risk. Take that risk.
It's funny you say that because when if you get a certain Marvel Legends figure or you get any company and you see like, wow, I can't believe, like, how heavy is this? Or I can't believe they put that. It seems like a risk, but you feel like this is how it kind of should be. Maybe have it go in a different direction than this. But I like when you cram the Fantastic Four thing, like a huge painted, really nice extra fists, all that kind of stuff. Like that's what old Marvel Legends is to me, and the comic book is missing still. And I realize a lot of things can't be done these days, but that was the whole package. But you got a comic book, or you got the Build-A-Figure piece that was a leg that was like 12 inches tall. You know what I mean? It's like, it's insane.
I mean, buying a Marvel Legends, buying a Toybiz Marvel Legends figure was a total experience because first of all, you saw the clam packaging and it was like, wow, it just looks like a shiny jewel with that comic book in there.
Yeah.
Then when you went to grab it and touch it, you're like, man, this is thick. Like it's just got some width to it. But then when you hold it, when you take it off the peg, it's like it's heavy. It's
Yeah.
got weight to it. And then when you finally open it up and that smell hits you, you know, I mean, it's a total experience on the senses, man. And it's like everything about this figure, from the moment I saw it to the moment I had to open it up and put it on a stand, it's an experience. And no toy had all of that at once.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, you have to have the full experience of when you were cutting the plastic clamshell and you would slice your hand open every once in a while.
I mean, it was pain,
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears, blood, sweat, and tears, man. And that's what something that I always wanted to put into whatever product, you know, that I was ever working on, like those little nuances, like, is there a particular smell we can throw in there, and like so it can, you know, have this residual impact on the consumer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's packaged entertainment.
Yeah.
In its purest sense. You know, it's the whole complete everything you need: sight, sound, smell.
Yup. Yup. The variant, all that stuff. You know, it all comes into play. You know, the sculpt and everything, it all comes into play.
What abouts these days? What are you working on, or where are you hoping to take your work? Is there any dream projects? Is there anything that you're particularly proud of that you've done recently?
See, it's funny now. Like the world is kind of open. Like, you know, because of COVID-19. You know, I got laid off at Mattel, so I'm not at Mattel anymore. You know, so it's like, and it's totally different now. You know, because it's different than like any other kind of layoff and everything, where it was like, you know, wow, man, what's going to happen? You know, like, but this is different because the whole world is on pause. You know, so, you know, and with that, there's new ideas, new opportunities. So, you know, got some stuff in the pipeline, and of course, I'm always in Adam's ear. You know, always talking to Adam Van Wickler about doing something. So, you know, we always floating ideas and all that other stuff. But you know, now is like the time to really kind of practice what I preach. You know what I mean? Like I've been very fortunate to work on a lot of different stuff, a lot of different brands, different characters, and it's like, man, like now it's like, where do I go from here? You know what I mean? Where do I go? I go to the content, do more toys, do more unique stuff. So now it's like the world is my oyster. So now I'm at this point of discovery, where I'm going to go from here. So I think like that's the unique journey that I'm on now. Like, where am I going to go from here?
Mm-hmm. Well, based on everything we've spoken about, I would say any company would be lucky to have you, especially running the joint. You're who I want making, you know, toys. Very passionate people that, and the most important thing, knowing the stuff, the source material. You know, a lot of times when I talk, let's say Toy Fair, you know, especially last February, you know, we were all there. You mentioned to somebody and they're like, oh, I don't know that. What episode is that from? And I'm like, oh no, that's the most important episode. That's the one everybody knows.
I know, because at the very least, you know, just do the due diligence to engage with me, you know, because like that's all we really want. We want a piece of nostalgia because it resonated with us. So when we can be able to talk about that, you know, because that's all, like the packaging is only telling us what we already know. But it's the way it's conveyed when we read it. We're like, that person know what they're talking about because they doing that little thing, that little nod, that little name, that little blurb. Whoever wrote that, they wrote that specifically for people like me.
Yeah, exactly.
And you love that. You love that. So then when you actually get to meet someone at a convention or a toy fair or even in the store, you know, imagine going to the counter and asking a question and the person at the counter is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you just lost a sale.
Yeah, that's
Sale.
definitely true.
So
Yeah.
it's like the same thing, man. If you want to sell this product, understand the product. And once you understand the product, then you realize that it's more than just a product. It's
Yeah.
more than just a thing to sell. Like there's passion in it. There's one of the things I always talk about. Like one of my favorite artists growing up was Bob Layton, and I love Bob Layton. I loved Iron Man and everything. And of course, as you know, I was War Machine. My head is on War Machine.
I was going to say, I wanted to bring that up. I was trying to find the right segue. I'm glad that you did that.
But I'm gonna tell you, man. Like growing up, it started with style. Like it started with the drawing. Like whoever is drawing this, I love it. And then
Mhm.
I started to identify the drawing style with the name. And then I would read the letters pages and everything like that, and I would see like Bob Layton and connected with the art and everything like that, and he became an art teacher for me,
Mhm.
so then I'm working on this product, and then I'm fortunate enough to actually become a character that he co-created,
Mhm.
and then I'm working on a movie that's kind of based on his story. You know what I mean? And then I'm working with him, and I'm talking with him on a human level. Now it's like I go from being a kid, being someone who totally inspired me, awestruck, to now being a serious fan, to being like, now it goes from being a fan to being a teacher, and then it goes from being a teacher to being a partner, and then from being a partner to being a friend.
Yeah.
And that right there is the human journey, bro. Like like more so than being an action figure, more so than being in all that, like being able to be inspired by this man, and then now later on in life to actually be able to, I can call him, I can engage with him, I can shoot him an email, I can shoot him a text, and he will respond.
Mhm.
That is like insane to me. It is insane to me. And like, and I think because of that, that allows me to constantly approach this genre with this fan like kind of awe, and I
Mhm.
think that's one reason why, I hear like, why I kind of connect with people. And not to say this because I'm full of myself, but because I never really think of it as, me, the toy designer. I'm always like me, the kid. Like I'm just
Mhm.
as in the awe of all that as you are.
Yeah.
But like being an actual toy, like that's something that, I've always wanted because I've always loved toys. So when it came about to be an actual action figure, man, that was just like amazing to me.
Mhm.
Amazing to me. I even though people collect that figure, people can collect it. My family members still ask me about it, and it even goes to the Jurassic Park thing. I'm a Jurassic Park figure. I was another War Machine in 3 3/4 inch, and
Yeah.
you know, and and it's still, it, I I'm still like a kid about that.
Mhm.
Like I'm still in awe about that.
Well, that's why it goes back to the fact of like I can't imagine what it's like not only to have the influence. Now you're an action figure, which is just all kinds of awesome. Maybe one day, maybe I'll get there one day. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to make my own. I'll have to customize it somehow. But you know what I mean? It's like it's extraordinary what you have accomplished and are still doing. It's fantastic. And for me, and you talking about Iron Man artist Bob Layton and for me talking to you, that's how I'm feeling. It's like, wow, I have collected this guy's toys, he's designed, he's created all these things. Now I get to talk with you.
Right.
That's amazing to me. So
That's cool.
I appreciate it very much.
That right, and that appreciation is number one. I thank you, and it's heartfelt. But like that appreciation is like that can also be used as a genuine tool to stand behind anything that person makes. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like that is like loyalty. That's brand loyalty. And it's funny because that to me is Marvel. Like Marvel is like you have Marvel. And when I say Marvel, I always think of, the red block with the white letters, and then the characters and all that other stuff. But then it's like
Mm-hmm.
the people, Stan Lee, John Buscema, John Romita Jr., John Romita Sr., you know what I mean? Sal Buscema, like those names, those people were like just as synonymous with the characters that they created, which is just as synonymous with Marvel.
Yeah.
And I never, ever, ever in a million years would have thought that I would be some way of shape or form in a twig in that giant tree. I never thought I would be a twig in that tree. Never. But we're all twigs in that tree. We're all twigs in that tree because our support, our love, our passion, even our ideas we share with Marvel, and Marvel in turn implemented that, and they put it for us for us to enjoy. You know what I mean? It was a total cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love it. That's why I love it. That's why I love talking about it, why I get lost talking about it, why I ramble, why I feel passionate about it, why I get frustrated with collecting, while, everything, why I love collecting everything, because it's all that's wrapped up into that red logo with those white letters.
Yeah. I know we'll probably have to split this in two parts, but I don't mean to keep you. I know we're almost at that 2 hour mark. Am I holding you up? I'm not.
No, you're good.
I keep it. I
No,
was going to say, if you want to start,
Friday.
we can wind it down. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The days of the week have completely gone to the wayside, by the way, after this like COVID thing. It's like I base it on what package came. I'm like, okay, Thursday was that day, so that's what came. Okay, so
Right.
what about what are you collecting these days outside of, let's say, if it is Marvel or the Legends still, or is there any particular company that's just killing it in your mind?
Well, now it's like I'm more diverse now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not so much. Well, I kind of always have been diverse, always been eclectic with my collecting, but now it's like I've pulled away from like the knee jerk reaction of the hunt.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of the same stuff out there. And but I love, like, every once in a while I'll see or something may catch me, like the new Red Hulk. Like,
Yeah.
that was intriguing to me because it was different than the previous Red Hulk that I was kind of associated with. The first one was more blocky and graphic looking and everything. This was more organic and stuff. So it was like, okay,
Yeah.
like it looks really cool. And also, like, just the Hulks in general have been really, really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, Hasbro, they really kicked ass with the Hulk.
Yeah.
It really, really has. I mean, when you look at the Hulk, it's like, damn, that's where they really stepped everything up.
Yeah.
But I love, like, Super 7. I love what Super 7 is doing. I love that it's like you really don't know what they're going to do, but they're hitting all these aspects of pop culture. To me, Super 7 is my personal Funko.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Funko is doing, but I'm not going to get every Funko.
Yeah.
What Super 7 is doing, like, all right, the way that they're tapping on different stuff, that to me is like, it's the same, it's hitting the same kind of notes for me.
Yeah, Super 7 they have a very interesting niche of like they're even doing like Toxic Avengers, like, you know what I mean, like the old cartoon, or they have these really cool the Transformers, but they're the retro reaction sort of. They don't transform, they don't do anything, but they have found a way to kind of bring back nostalgia, but like we had kind of discussed, they're doing it in a different, unique sort of way that is still different, I think, than NECA. I think NECA has their own style. Of course, Super 7 does as well, and it's cool to see and kind of like branch out. And like, I used to always, let's say for a while it was only Marvel Legends for a bit, or then it was this, and you move on as your tastes develop as you get older. And now, just like you said, I see it in a broader scope. Everyone is making cool stuff. There's no one company that's dropping the ball. There's something for everybody. And if you don't like what they're doing, go over here. Maybe they have the license too, and they're doing a different style. Maybe you like that, So it's there's so much to pick and choose from. There is a lot, but there's a lot of good stuff.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of unique stuff. I mean, there's some jewels out there. I mean, there's some really, really good stuff. There's some stuff that's really pushing the envelope, you know. But I think with me, I've kind of like just, you know, I've retrained my mind to not, you know, be on the hunt as much as I used to be, because it can really play with your mind, man. And then also too, it's like, I had got to the point, man, where the things that I owned began to own me. And I had to break away from that. You know, I had to find the peace. I had to find some serenity, I had to find a space where everything had to slow down for me. So I had to kind of get rid of, or not necessarily get rid of, but not hunt as much, because of how I felt the toll was being taken on just my psyche.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I definitely understand exactly what you're saying. After a while, you start to, it's like, I guess you could say, like, you kind of not get tired of it, but it takes its toll where you're just like, I'm just not into this right now. And when you're not into it and you're forcing it, that's not collecting. That's not what you should want to do it. But not to the point where it's painful.
Right.
It's, you know, you're not you're not getting something just to get it. So.
Right. Yeah. It was to the point where I was just grabbing stuff. It was like, have you ever seen that what was it? It was like a 2020 episode where it had Michael Jackson on there, and he went into this place like in Paris, I think, the store, and he was just, I want that, 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 and just grabbing stuff and putting it in the cart. It kind of came like that for me. Like, I'm looking at stuff like, oh, I'm going to get this, I'm grabbing that, I'm getting this bundle of comic books, and I would never look at it again. And that's when I'm like, you know what? That's not why. That's not who I am. That's not me. That's not why I love this. Because now these things are starting to become things, and I don't want to view things as things. You know what I mean? I want to view these as capsules of my memory, capsules of my childhood, you know, of my passion, you know, of my friends, you know, ideas, you know, like all the things that I collect is like, you know, memories for me, you know, and
I'm the same way.
Yeah, so and what I started to do was pull back, because I started to, the things I started to collect just became things, and I didn't want that to happen, you know, because being on the inside, one thing that I do know, that you know, no toy starts off bad, you know, and there's a lot of people involved, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of passion, you know, and when I do get those things, aside from the whole love of the character, or just being in awe because it's a cool thing, a cool sculpt or whatever, or cool paint, I know that the passion and the painstaking hours that went into creating that, you know, or the penning it, or even like trying to push it to get past your marketing team, you know, trying to sell it in, you know, I know the difficulty. So when I found myself buying stuff but not even taking that stuff into account, that's when I knew that I was just faking it. I was turning into a poser.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. You know, I want to enjoy every nuance as to why this thing, this product is in my presence, you know, and why I choose to pass this down to my son. You know, eventually he'll pass down to his son, or pass to my daughter so she can pass down to her daughter, you know, and like getting back to the true essence and meaning of why I love toys, you know what I mean? Why I love the escape, you know, and to share that escape, you know.
I feel I know exactly what you mean. I mean, even I've had to let a few things, like a couple lines that I was collecting, because I'm thinking like, oh my God, like I collect everything. Did I always used to collect everything? And, you know, after a while, you kind of have to go, am I doing this just because I've done it for so long? Am I still enjoying it? You know, and and for some lines recently, even I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just be like, I'll talk about them. I think they're cool looking, but I'm not gonna take them home if they're at the store. You know, so there's not, let's say, like you're cutting back in terms of, I love talking about this stuff, but you don't have to own it. You don't have to be the
Right.
first one to have it. You don't, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
take into account the memories of what you used to do and try to see if it still applies. Yeah,
Right. Right. Right.
I see what you, I know exactly what you mean. And opening like a whole set of legends, and then you have the next week you got a whole, it's, you're not, are you enjoying them to that extent? I leave them on my shelf and I look at them every day, and it's sometimes you open them up and you're like, where's the next ones? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
then when you get to that point, you have to kind of go, I gotta take a break sometimes.
Right. 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 Like that. It's funny too, man, because like with Comic Con, like one of the reasons why I love San Diego Comic Con, not only because it it's a place where you can see people that you haven't seen in years or anything like that, or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
year, but for me personally, Comic Con was you know my personal pilgrimage, man. It was
Hmm.
like that was something that I always wanted to be a part of and experience. Like that was something that I just dreamed about. Like that was the holy grail of conventions for me. You
Yeah.
know, and when I finally got to be there, it was like, man, like I just felt like this is it. I'm amongst all of like-minded individuals,
Hmm.
and we all, if I can mention the discovering something or the passion or whatever, everyone there will be able to identify with that. And now in recent years, I found that Comic-Con wasn't about that anymore. It was all about the spectacle, the spectacle, the spectacle.
Yeah.
And now I'm 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 looking forward to get back to that, get back to the essence of what it used to be.
Yeah. I just in being, for those like listening that have never been to Comic Con, from what it came from to what it is now, being there, it's basically entertainment con, and the buildings, the hotels, everything has. Here's the next, Amazon original.
Right.
Here's the new movie, and they have people handing out flyers. You have like movie sets basically being built to promote, and it was never like that. You used to be able to pull up almost right to the convention, park in a lot, you pay $5 or whatever, and
Right.
you just walk into the convention,
Right.
and it's
My first con, I slept in my car that I rented in
right.
in the garage next to the convention center. Like I stayed in there for 4 nights
Oh wow, yeah.
in
Well, you
my
gotta
car.
you gotta do that sometimes. It's
Hmm.
that's the true fan right there.
Yeah, and I went to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth, like in the public. I use all of the facilities around here.
Hmm.
Me and like, and I was in love. I felt like I was in love when I was there. Like I
Hmm.
felt that feeling, like that euphoric feeling of being in love. That's how I felt. And I love feeling that way. I love when I feel that way when I discover a new comic book shop. I get that feeling when I discover a new toy store, when I see something like a new thing or a nostalgia thing. Like I feel that.
Yeah.
Like it's like a crush. Like my heart starts to flutter. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
ooh, man, this is it. Like I get all that, and you know I I've noticed that feeling came less and less and less.
Hmm.
So it's like I want to rediscover that feeling, and
Yeah. I think a lot of it has also become a mentality of, exclusives have kind. Remember when exclusives were like, walk up to the booth, one exclusive, please. They're like, oh, don't worry, we have plenty. You know what I mean?
yep,
Then it kind of started to turn into a roulette wheel where they'd spin a wheel. Okay, if you have the ticket of this, you come back between 12 and 1, and
yep,
and now it's become unobtainable in some aspects,
yep,
and I see people walking around the convention, they got the big bags. I'm like, You're gonna resell those, aren't you?
Yep. And
So
then,
it's changed now.
and then like on the opposite end, like on the manufacturing end, sometimes it's like, man, sometimes exclusives become exclusives because they didn't make it into the main line.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost frustrating sometimes when you finally see that exclusive, make it and take off, and it sells like gangbusters. It makes an impact, and it's like, man, now imagine that would have been in the line,
Yeah.
and along with other characters, so it's like, that's the continuous fight that has to be fought, like constantly pushing the envelope to get the new character, the new articulation point, the new whatever it is, the new thing, the new hook. It's like, you got to push that, because a lot of the times, man, people just don't get it. They just do not get it. They do not get it. And you've been, you could be the champion of it for forever and ever and ever. Then finally it's like, all right, we're going to put into an exclusive. We're only going to put this small amount of quantities behind it, and we'll see what it does. And like, boom, it sells out. Like, you know what? This could have done amazing before. So, it's some of those frustrations that I hope will begin to, and also, consumers are fickle. Consumers, they'll buy some things, then they won't buy things. But I hope that, when you really understand the nature of your consumer, you can do a little bit more, risky things. You can kind of go out there on limbs because you understand them, where as opposed to constantly playing it safe, and then, realizing that you could have impacted a whole lot more had you just trusted your consumer more, trusted the people who work on the product more, trust them and know that the people who are working on the products are thoroughly engaged on and tapped in to the pulse of the consumer.
Yeah, and I think, in what you guys did with Legends, I think that's what really tapped into that idea, is like, we're going to push this. We know we're fans. We know, or we have an idea. We think if we think it's cool, then I think the fans are going to think it's cool. And I think that's why Legends have gone as long as they have and are still continuing. It's adapted, it's changed, and that's necessary. And then of course there was a lull, where they kind of like in changes and things like that, but they came back and then just got better and better and better. And now they are regarded as some of the finest things to collect. I mean, they're some of the most fun, regardless if you have problems with the articulation or what have you, either way, but they sell and people love them, so.
I'm so glad that finally we're getting a Nimrod,
Yeah.
Because like for fans, it's like, wow, we're finally getting the Nimrod. But for me, I'm like, we created a Nimrod years and years and years ago, and it sat there. It sat there and was put in front of meeting after meeting after meeting, and now finally it's starting to come out. Yeah. So it's like when I see that, like, yes, like the tide is slowly turning. Like
that's what I think. Like when I talk about Legends, though, and people go, I wish there's a new Spider-Man, and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, cool. I mean, give me Spider-Man all day, I'll totally agree with you, I love it. But there comes to a point where the finest thing about Legends is the character selection. It is like what Toybiz originated from, like the most obscure, and you need that for the line. Like somebody was saying, well, the Black Widow line, there's a lot of great characters. What's your favorite? I'm like, Spy Master.
Right.
Like, Spy Master, why? And I'm like, because I don't have a Spy Master.
Right.
I've never had that character, and I did research. I knew who he was, but I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Right.
And I looked it up, and now I'm like, yeah, he's an Iron Man guy, or he can go with this. He's a spy, Black Widow, blah blah blah. That is what keeps my attention, because I mean, even right down to Cosmic Ghost Rider, who said, I'm looking at him right now, my dad. I'm like, that's just awesome. Like, give me the weirdest, craziest stuff. And Legends is so good with doing that. And I can't wait to see what that Master Mold Sentinel leg attaches to.
I know, right? I know. I can't wait. I
Well,
cannot wait.
let me say this. I appreciate all of your time. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your
No,
day.
man. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is super fun, man. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I love talking about this stuff. I love talking to you, man. So it's very cool.
Well, thank you. No, we'll have to do it again because I know there's like I have like a whole list of questions that we barely got to. So
Yeah, man.
if you want to
Anytime.
do it again, let's do it again.
And I'm sorry, man, because I start rambling.
No,
It's
this
too
is what
much.
I want. I don't want like here's question one. You
Right.
know, it's more like let's just talk. You know, let's talk
Yeah.
as if we've known each other for years. Even though this is kind of the first time we've ever talked. So
Yeah. But hey, you know what? We've known each other for years. Known each other
exactly,
for
I've
years.
known your toys. I feel like I
Yep.
know you.
I mean, hey, I've been following toy shiz forever.
Oh, hey. Well, I
Yo,
appreciate
I
that.
mean,
Hopefully,
it's funny. Fun fact: years ago, when you first unveiled the Toy Shiz logo,
yeah.
we thought that was the most hilarious fucking thing. Me and my former marketing partner at Hasbro, Scott George, we thought it was the funniest thing. Toy Shiz. We thought it was hilarious, man. It was so yeah, long time, first time.
Well, I appreciate that, and my utmost respect to Toy Biz. You know, the Toy Biz. In growing up, and it was they were you guys basically were how I kind of formed how I collect. You know what I mean? So it is always at the utmost reverence and respect of how I try to continue that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And in keeping people informed and just trying to say, look, what came before is awesome. Yeah, there's always going to be new toys, but you got to look at the past in order to appreciate what you got now. Because without the stuff way back when, we wouldn't be where we are. So
Yeah. And also too, it's funny, man, because I really would love to be able to, and there's actually going to be some things rolling out in the future, but I would really love to see for fans to really get the inside view of what it was at Toy Biz because
yeah,
it was unique, man. I mean, it was really, really unique. I mean, it was an eclectic crew. We had some awesome artists there that of different backgrounds. It was very diverse. I
yeah,
mean, and I mean, from Jesse Falcon and Damon Lee, Junis Ortiz, Mike Mucci. I mean, I mean, we had so many talented people there. And then engaging with the guys in the bullpen and stuff. It was just an amazing time. And then on top of all of that, the movies were starting to come up too.
yeah.
So it was just I never would have imagined in a million years that I would be a part of that, and just being a part of that is just an amazing memory for me.
See that we need to get like Brian Volk-Weiss from Toys That Made Us, and he's got he could probably just go to town and do some crazy documentary. I would watch the heck out of it. Let's call him up and talk to him. Maybe he's not
Yeah,
busy.
I mean, I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would be curious to see the process, the old process, and how certain process is still done, but just how some of those ideas came about, and the fun that we had, and the challenges that we had to come up, why, and that's another thing. One reason why that stuff was very fun because it was a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
Marvel Legends is looked at as a darling now, but it wasn't viewed as a darling then.
Hmm.
So just really getting the idea off the ground was just unique, and also too it was the beginning of a particular type of social media as well. So there was a lot of things that were bubbling in society as well that captured the attention of Toy Biz at that time, and everything was in a wave. Everything was
Yeah.
just in a wave, So it was when I talk about it in terms like that, that's when it's like wow, wow. That's when it's like we we really did some fun stuff.
Yeah. No, and even people that I talk to that from Toy Biz, yourself included, and everything else, they always say the same thing too. They go, you should hear this. Like, if we could get someone to tell the stories and really talk about it, it would blow your mind. And I'm like, all
Oh
right,
man.
well, maybe let's work on that. Let's see what we can do. I bet
I
the
mean,
people
yeah,
would love to hear all that stuff.
it was just amazing. From we had this wall of shame in the office. And I think now, like, the wall of shame has taken on almost like this mythological thing in and of itself now. But and it is everything that you think it was.
Yeah.
The wall, whatever your imagination is telling you the wall of shame was, that's what it was. That's and but it was like I mean, not to hold you up, but just to share this real,
No. Please do.
just to share this one blurb real quick. One reason why did you ever hear about the wall of shame that we have?
I I've heard about it, but it's never been like they kind of like you're talking about like kind of just glancing over. Like I didn't really ask any questions. So if you want to go into it, most
Well,
definitely.
well, like the wall of shame, it basically was the Toybiz studio was a big open like studio. It was a
Hmm.
big open area, right? It looked like it looked like a smaller version of the office from Wolf of Wall Street. You
Okay.
remember all the guys in there, and it kind of went like it was just this big ass room.
Hmm.
Well, it was kind of like that, but a smaller version of that, right? And we had this huge, huge pillar in the middle of the studio, and that pillar was just blank. But also, too, our walls were blank. like,
Yeah.
like one of the things that I thought working at Marvel was it was going to be like this amazing environment where there's like artwork all over the place, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
And particularly on our floor. Our floor was very, very bland. And so we had some like sun bleached posters up on the wall and stuff that were framed. Like they were all like X-Men and all that stuff, but it was very few. So when you work in a toy company, the office kind of takes on the environment of what it is you're all collecting. So everyone is decorating their environment, their spaces. So everyone has these unique, eclectic workspaces, right?
Hmm.
So you're decorating in that sense, but the wall of shame kind of came about was we were, making, we were photoshopping each other's faces on different. We were just playing around with Photoshop, doing different editing and stuff. So we will put our head on some guy's body, and that's how it grew. And eventually, we started to send messages to each other through these images. And these messages wound up becoming, it went from the sublime to the ridiculous very quick. And it became like this, it wound up morphing into something that, wow, are we going to get fired for this?
Yeah. But see, that's the environment. That's why I think a lot of creativity. As long as you're laughing and having fun, I think that's what breeds a
Right.
lot of creativity instead of stifling. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's you don't feel constrained.
And that's what that in and of itself, that wall of shame became a tool. It became a tool because that was our creative outlet. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We could laugh at ourselves, not in a way that like the toy form or anything, but like, at work, just laugh at ourselves. And then with that laughter, form this bond between
Hmm.
them. And then with that bond, we we formed this creative environment, this creative synergy that was happening.
Hmm.
So it was in this weird way, our office was this blank canvas that we had projected our personalities into, projected our creative thoughts onto, we projected our past onto, we projected our future onto, and all of that, I believe, resonated into the product.
Hmm.
Because we had created this environment where we can be comfortable and express ourselves. And I think that ushered in the unique ideas and product that flowed through during that time.
Hmm.
because it was a lot. It wasn't just like Marvel Legends that we worked on, but the Lord of the Rings stuff, which was fantastic. Spider-Man stuff, which was really dope.
Yeah.
Um, the early Diamond Select stuff, but it was Marvel's. It was called what was it? What was it called? Because they were like more like we did a Black Widow. We did a Hulk, like the Alex Ross Mutant X Hulk that Damon Lee did. Oh, I can't remember the name of that line.
It
was kind of like the precursor to Marvel Select.
Yeah. Why can't I think of that?
And
I know what you're talking about though, but what?
And then also, and Jesse was also kind of did what was the precursor, if you remember, the precursor to Hot Toys, where we were doing like some 12-inch figures.
Yes, the Blade figure, like the cloth
Punisher and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was stuff like that that was happening too, man. That was like we were doing some really fun stuff.
Yeah.
Really fun stuff that wound up becoming, Marvel Legends and, even Marvel 3 3/4-inch universe. We did these little guys. They were called Marvel. They were in boxes. I don't know what. My mind is slipping on me now. It's kicking in. But they were like 3 3/4-inch scale Marvel figures, and they were basically Marvel Legends that were pantographed down.
Yeah.
And
which, by the way, people
Superhero Showdown, Marvel
Superhero Showdown. Yeah. Okay.
And everyone loved them, but that was like the precursor to the 3 3/4. So it was like we were doing a lot of things, man, that was laying the groundwork for, where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Unknowingly, we didn't know that Disney was going to eventually buy Marvel and all that other stuff. We just had this vision to bring Marvel out of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And
I would say you did, right? I mean, in talking especially about 3 3/4-inch, I saw on your Instagram you posted like the Obama figure that was, you said, sculpted and ready to go, but it just never saw the light of day.
Yep.
That's, again, it's fascinating to see, because that, again, tying it back to your assessment of Obama and how he kind of ran his presidency and having the underlying comic book aspect of it, that would have been like awesome. That would have been like such a different thing,
right,
to see.
But it's like that fear, that fear of offending someone. And why is that fear of offending someone even there?
I would see that if somebody said, "Oh, there's a president," I would see everybody trying to get that, even if you never even heard of. Oh, did you hear there's a President Obama figure on a Marvel? Yeah. Like, that would sell like gangbusters. It would sell like gangbusters now. Even with the Stan Lee figure that just came out for Legends. I mean, it's fun, and that's again what Marvel Legends does. It makes collecting fun, because you never really know what you're gonna do next.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah. And that's how it was back in the day. You really honestly didn't know unless if you didn't read the magazine or go on the whatever the original form of the internet. Yeah, you were kind of just like walking into a store and being like, "Oh, the new wave is out. Oh, who's in this?" So, so much fun. God dang. But well, let's say this: where can people find you on Instagram or Facebook or website? I'll put all the links below as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at David Vonner on Instagram, David Vonner on Facebook, and I'm working on a few things right now. Kind of like working on some product and working on content that's going to be coming out. So yeah, there's going to be some things that's going to be coming down on pipe. You'll be seeing my face.
Awesome. Keep me posted. I want to be able to talk about it and get the word out and everything. Just I'd love to see what you got coming in. So
yeah, man, thank you, and I appreciate you so much for having me. And this is super fun, and I appreciate even more the support. You know, and with the
Of course, yeah.
it's always awe-inspiring to me to hear the impact that, you know, I may have had on something or someone that, and in my mind, I'm the furthest person that can impact anything. So when I do when I do hear that, it's very humbling and appreciative as well. So thank you so much, and
Of
thank you for
course.
everyone
No,
that took the time to listen.
yeah, no, 100%. This is why I like doing this because, but let's say before Toy Shoes, I've always wondered, you know what I mean? Like, where does this start? How do you go from nothing to going to the store and buying all these toys? And then you think about all the details and who's behind it and artwork and design, and there's so much creativity, and that's what I like to hear. You can only
Hmm.
collect so many toys. You can only, go through so many iterations of the same brand or the characters, but it's the stories that are more intriguing to me as I'm getting older. So
Right.
I appreciate you coming on most definitely and talking and letting everybody understand and get a better insight into this crazy world that we're all a part of.
And then eventually we'll get Adam on here so we can do a tag team.
Oh yeah, I was asking him before we went on. I go, you got any funny things I can talk about when I have Dave Vonner on? So we'll go.
Oh
I would
man,
love to have you guys
now
on.
see those stories. I mean, when you talk about stories between between Adam Van Wickler, Jesse Falcon, Phil Ramirez. I mean, bro, I have these guys have changed my life. Changed my life, man. I mean, just being a part of their presence, man, and the stories, the things, the experiences are just hilarious. But you
Yeah.
know, it's priceless at the same time.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, those are stories for another day then, because that's what we'll leave that on like a tease. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
The stories you've never heard.
See that now that'll be a good interview, man. You get the old Toy Biz crew together.
Yeah, that's that. I'm not gonna lie, I would, and I'm trying. We'll see what happens. That would be, that would be amazing, and I think a lot lot would
Because we
love to
got
see that.
stories,
So
man. We got stories. I don't know how safe for work they are, but we definitely got some stories.
that is too. Another time, like in what you just said, they said I've heard that a million times from them, other people. It's not safe for work. I'm like, no, those are the best stories. Those are the ones everybody wants to hear. Well, we're going to definitely put a pin in it because, again, yeah, I think that knowing just the underlying tales of how all this stuff just even comes into play is so fascinating. So, well, I would love to have you on again as well and talk more.
Yep. Love to be a part of it, brother.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again, and thank you to everyone who listened. If you've made it this far, I think we're at the almost 2 hour and 30-minute mark, but it's fine. You can listen to it while you're driving or something.
Yeah. You can put your gray matter back in your brain, back in your head.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone over a lot of good stuff.
I
But
know.
well, thank you again. I will let you go, and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother. You have a good one, man.
You too.